Hi, I'm Pat Fiume. I've been a realtor for over 30 years. I'm a host of the American Dream Show. Welcome to my show, Is This for Real Estate? Welcome back. I'm here with Denise Christinzio. She's one of our managers at RE/MAX Preferred. I've known Denise probably as long as I've been in real estate. She's been in real estate. We've known each other a long time.
We're old war horses.
Hey.
in this business.
One way to put it, yeah. Glutton for punishment.
Yeah. My husband, somebody once told me that if it wasn't for the people, it'd be a great business. But
like
you know, it's like everything else. You know, you have your good ones and your bad ones.
Yeah, I have clients I absolutely love, and they've become really good friends. And then I have clients I'm so glad when the deal's over.
It's like you lose their address.
Yeah. Don't go on my past client list for mailings.
Oh yeah, you have your good past client list and the do not mail.
Do not call me list ever again.
Yeah, I know.
So, what can you tell me about, I guess, your experience with RE/MAX and real estate? And I know you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, actually, I got licensed the tail end of 1979. Went to work for a small independent company, and then I went to work for Sam Paparone. Him and his brothers were building at the time, but he also had a resale office in Stratford.
I remember that. On the
So
plate.
that's where I started. Then I worked for Sam for a couple of years, and then I met my husband there, and
that's where you met. Okay.
That's where I met Al.
Yeah.
And then this new concept came out, and
RE/MAX.
they called it RE/MAX, and we said, well, what the heck is a RE/MAX?
Right.
So Joe and Jeff, or the regional directors, said,
Yep.
well, let's sit down and tell you what a RE/MAX is. And so basically they explained that it was a new, or at least new for us on the East Coast,
Right.
Way of doing business for proven professionals. And being top producers, we thought, my God, this is great. I mean, at the time, people were getting 50-50 splits.
Right.
And maybe you had a graduated split if you did really good, but then you reset.
And if you
with
sold another
RE/MAX,
realtor's listing, it was even worse.
it was even worse.
Yeah.
And then when you got, but with RE/MAX, okay, you paid a monthly fee, but God forbid if you had more than one or two settlements, you got all of it.
You got the whole commission.
And it was like, as a business, well, I guess we found out that a lot of realtors are not business people, but for us who looked at it as a profession and that it was a business for us, we thought, my God, this is unbelievable, and we need to bring that here.
They were definitely ahead of their time.
They were. Well, in fact, Richard Fulgenetti, who has RE/MAX at Cherry Hill, who you work with, Richard was the first office. So when my husband and I went to meet with Joe and Jeff, we met Richard at the office there, and we were the third office in the state to open. So we were one of the few
pioneers.
We were pioneers. Yeah, our broker council meeting was in Cherry Hill at the conference table with a cup of coffee and some donuts.
I could just see him there.
It was Richard, me, Al, it was Howard Lawmaster, and I think it was Joe and Jeff.
Yes,
so we were the broker council meeting.
Wow.
And then of course we watched how RE/MAX started to take off, and more. Plus, we were looking for the cream. RE/MAX was the gold standard for a lot. Yeah, they were the gold standard for a lot of realtors.
And you'd have to be to make it. A lot of people that had a hard time with that, having to pay to sit there, but they didn't realize if you produce enough money, you make so much more money and so much more freedom.
Yeah, well, that's what I liked, that I had more control over what I could do with my business.
Exactly.
I can control my advertising. I didn't have my broker saying, well, you get 2 slots today.
Or even just to have to deal with all the meetings and going on tour. It's such a waste of time sometimes. Like back then, they used to take a whole day and go on tour.
I know, it was a lost day. Between the meeting and then on the caravan, you'd go everywhere.
Yeah.
And by the time you get back, it's like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then everybody's grabbing lunch, and then you're making, at that time there was no voicemail.
Right.
So we had all those little pink slips. So you had to come back to the office.
Pink slips this tall.
Well, I used to play a game. I would sort them. It was like, how many times did this person call me? So if I called them first, I get rid of 5, and this one's second. And of course, back then there was no technology.
Right.
We had no copiers.
Yep.
We had no fax machines. We had no cell phones, no lock boxes, no internet, nothing. Everything was manual.
I feel like a dinosaur when we'd say it like that.
Well, when I do my meetings, sometimes we talk about in the land before time.
Exactly.
Where we would drag these big giant MLS books with us to listings, and
if you had a cell phone, it was like this big in a box in a bag that you slung over your shoulder. I had one
Well,
it was like a satellite radio that you would take to Mars or something. It was huge.
Well, I had the first brick phone.
Yeah,
and it was so heavy. My wrists are small that I'd be talking and I would find myself doing this because it would weigh me down.
Well,
you could do your biceps with this thing.
And then we got the bag phones.
Well, even like pay phones, like I used to keep rolls of quarters in my like you would take to a casino, rolls of quarters.
Yeah.
Because they started putting pay phones in at the gas stations.
Yep.
So you could sit in your car and make a phone call. I used to do that all the time. You know.
And what else did you bring? You brought wipes with you because you knew the phones were disgusting.
Right. Yeah, I always had baby wipes because I had little kids.
And then the calling cards came out, which was great. You didn't need change anymore. Because I
Right.
had a box of change too. It was like, okay, this is good.
Yeah.
But we knew, as a realtor, we knew where every single payphone was.
That in every ladies' room.
That too, yeah, we knew where that was. And then remember having to go
We're
for
always
keys.
on the road.
Remember,
we would have to pick up like 10 keys to show 10 houses and have to drop them back.
well, yeah, you'd go make your appointment, pick up the keys, come back, pick up your client, go back and show the
gosh,
house,
brutal.
bring them back, and then bring all the keys back.
And
And,
like-
you had to sign them in, otherwise they'd call you. You didn't bring the key back.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know. Well, I used to have a ring like this big finally when I really started getting a lot of listings. It was like this big and I had all these little key rings. And I used to make like 10 copies of every
Key.
listing because people would throw them out or not bring them back. So I always had to have extras.
Well, we
you
used to
know?
do the courtesy keys
That
too.
thing weighed a
so-
ton too.
Yeah, so then we would do the courtesy keys. So everybody
Right.
had the big keyboard, with the
Yep, I
courtesy
remember that
keys.
well.
So,
Yeah.
and driving offers.
Hand
Because
delivered in an envelope.
Yeah.
Because there was no fax machine.
remember we used to do the HUD offers that way too. You had to drive to Camden in a sealed envelope.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so when I hear like our agents today kind of
Complaining.
complain, I went, no,
About the-
no. You have no idea what it was like back then.
And the amazing thing is, I remember a lot of agents I started at Mafucci, and I was young, in '86, and there was agents that had their own board, and the amount of business they were doing back then
Yeah.
is mind-boggling because it equals high-end producers today. And how did they do it?
Well,
Without all the
the offices were all open till 9 o'clock at night.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and fully staffed on weekends.
Right, that's true.
And
You had a floor person.
and prices were different.
Right,
I
yeah.
mean, and it was easier. I mean, we didn't have the requirements for pre-qualifying weren't as strict as they are today.
Yeah.
You had more control over
The buyers.
and
true.
the inventory. They had to come to you because they couldn't get information anywhere else.
Right. I would
Today-
send them home with a book sometimes
Oh,
for
yeah.
the weekend and look through
Absolutely.
the book and pick out the house.
You
they
know,
wanted
and
to
I
see.
remember the computer came in. It was a dumb terminal, and
Oh,
we had the big
God.
tractor feed paper, and you'd
I
watch
was
it
going
go.
to say, well, the first closing I went to that had a computer, I didn't realize what that was because I had never seen one, and I put my purse on
On
a
it?
stack of paper, and she's printing out the settlement and ripped it. It was like the dot
The dot matrix, yeah.
And she was so mad at me because she had to start all over because I messed up I put my purse on it. I didn't know what it was.
Well, of course I didn't know,
I was
you
like,
know.
what is that paper on the floor?
Like all the little things we thought were
People take for granted, like they have no idea
No.
what it was like when we started.
and interest rates were not
Oh, yeah.
even where they are today. They were much higher.
I was going to
back
say,
then.
when I bought my first house, interest rates were like 12 or 15%. It was
Well,
crazy. And
well,
then my
my-
second house, they were 12.
which you thought was great. Now, I bought my first house in 1977, and in those days, it was a 90-day closing.
Yes,
There was
always.
no rate lock until you got your commitment.
Yes.
So at the time of
Yep.
commitment, so you never knew what you were getting. So when they would
Yeah.
qualify you, you'd have to qualify them with like a space just in case the rate went up, so you'd still qualify.
Right.
And
Wiggle room, kind of.
Yeah. Well, I remember like Ken Garland was on the radio one morning, and I'm getting ready for work, and all of a sudden, he's saying, "Well, interest rates are good." I just signed contracts. Interest rates went from 9.5. Well, they just went up another 0.5%. So by the time I went to settlement, it was 11. So in 90 days,
Yeah.
it went from 9 to 11%.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, well, this sucks. So
Yeah, it really
so then I
did.
said to my husband, I'm gonna go for a real estate class.
Uh-huh.
So, and that's how I became an accidental realtor. I thought I'm gonna buy another house. I would like to be a little more informed.
Right.
So we basically I went. I got and back in those days, you could hang 400 licenses in a small office because it really
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
cost anything to have
Yeah.
them there. So I hung my license with the company I bought the house from because I didn't know anybody else.
Right.
And then my job in the city, my company got bought out by another one, and I really wasn't happy with the transition. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought, I'm just gonna be a realtor till I can figure out what I want to be when I grow up. I was like 22 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
And 43 years later,
Yeah.
I guess real estate found me. Here I am. I mean, who would think that I'm a military kid,
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I was an Air Force brat. You know, my whole life was spent on military bases, and we had on-base housing. So, I mean, who thought about real estate? So for me, that was like not even on my radar.
Wow.
So to become a realtor was like, I remember my very first showing, I was panicking because I was afraid I was going to get lost. So,
Yeah, because you didn't have MapQuest and...
No, we had maps.
Well,
I had big giant maps,
yeah,
and I would put my maps
I had them on I used to do them on my drive with them on my lap and flip the page. You had to go to the next
Well, that's
page.
when you got the book.
I sold
Before
a lot
that,
of
they were just the fold-outs.
But I sold a lot of houses. They didn't want to get in the car with me again because of all the maps. They were terrible. The husbands would be like staring at me, doing with this map on my lap, and
But
they'd be like,
I still like maps, though.
I
still pull up map. I still look at my whole route before I get in the car because in my head I already have it. And every time I would go somewhere, I would make like a red line. So eventually, I said, "Oh, I know where that is because I was over here," and that's how I started finding my way. But my first showing, I went out early in the daytime because it was at night. I was supposed to show it to find the house because I figured if I get lost, at least I get lost by myself. My biggest fear was I'd get lost with people and strangers in my car.
I've done that. Or I've lost clients a couple of times too.
But
once on purpose.
or they're following you. They want to follow you in the car, and you make the wrong turn, and then they're looking at you like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. If I knew, I would tell you.
You're like this in the car, like turn around.
Turn around, back that way, and they go.
I still do that once in a while. I get
every now and then. For people that have been in it for the longevity time like we have, we've seen so many different changes. I mean,
oh my God.
With the advent of social media, I mean, the Real Estate Commission was, they had no rules at all for advertising and all of that. So they had to create a whole new set of guidelines for social media advertising and make sure that we were all in compliance. It's just amazing how far we've come in the last 40-something years.
From a handshake deal to,
Listen, people used to be able to bring cash to settlement.
I had told a story about a little guy that brought I said it's $80,000, and he pulled a little bag out. It was like a paper bag, like a lunch bag full of cash.
Well, there used to be a Geno's on the White Horse Pike in Stratford. Do you remember Geno's?
Yeah, yep.
So I remember this guy comes up to my office because I was in Stratford. He's got this big old, it's a big caddy, but it was like a convertible, and he had these two girls with him, and he comes in, he's all dressed up, and I said, "So what do you do for a living?" He said, "I'm in entertainment," which was probably short speak for pimp, but nobody, okay, he's in entertainment, I could go with that. So we find him a house, him and his ladies, we find them a house, and then we come to settlement, and we told him how much he had to bring. He comes in with a Geno's bag. I thought he brought lunch with him.
For everybody.
It's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There's nothing bigger than a $10 bill in that bag. So now the settlement clerk is having a heart attack. I'm having a heart attack. So we locked the door, and now we're like shaking, trying to count this money, because every time we counted it was different.
Get a different number,
So we'd say, "All right, let's get a piece of paper and rubber bands." So that's 1,000. Okay, 1,000.
Right,
we put that down there. But then it was after 5. She had to take all the money home with her.
I know.
And so she called me like over the weekend 4 different times. "Listen, I just moved the money again. So I'm telling you where I put it." Monday morning she goes, "Where did I tell you I put the money?" I said, "You told me you wrapped it in foil and you put it in a in a freezer box in your freezer." I said, like, you wrapped it up, and it was like a ice cream Tupperware box or something. She goes, "Oh yeah, okay," because I was panicked. I woke up like I didn't remember where I put it. I found a bunch of my old business cards when I hit my 25th year in real estate. You're gonna laugh, Pat. I put them all on a table, and I took a picture, and I ran an ad in like the Homes magazine that said, "Which Denise did you do real estate with?" Because I had I did all my different hair pictures.
I had a Pat Cherokee one, and I had my hair, like all these different hair
permed, long, sideways, big hair. I mean, straight. It was almost like, and I'm looking and thinking to myself,
scary,
why did I ever think that looked good? I mean, I'm surprised
the
people
90s poopy hair.
I'm surprised people wanted to get in the car with me looking like that.
But everybody else looked like that too back then.
Well, yeah, right. I actually liked it when they used to ride in the car with us because I
used to take. Oh, I got a funny story about that.
we used to be able to develop those relationships a lot faster because they were with us all the time.
Today nobody rides in the car with you. Even since COVID, it's got worse.
And I remember one summer I had stopped and I got pig ears for my dog, and I had them in the trunk, and it was hot, and they're in the back seat, and we're done showing the house, and we're going back to the office, and they're just chatting, and the husband says, "So what do you think you want for dinner?" She goes, "I don't know," she said, "but I have this, I've been thinking about a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich." He goes, "You know what, I was thinking the same thing," and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, that's because I smell the pig ears that are heated up into my trunk," and they're thinking,
It's bacon!
and I thought, should I tell him? I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell him.
It's so funny.
That's true.
But they didn't have a dog with them, right?
The dog would have been like, yeah, give me one of those.
He'd be a scratching in your
Back
backseat
seat.
trying to get it. Well, there was a couple of it was a husband and wife team, Kay. Her name was Kay, and I forget her husband's name. But they were both like retired from other jobs. They were a little bit older than me at the time, who I was a kid. And this story reminds me about riding in the car. So they had this little old lady and an old man in the back seat showing them houses, trying to get them into a small rancher. And on 70, used to be all these cut-throughs. And
Right.
they were sitting in one waiting to do a U-turn, and somebody rear-ended them. And all of a sudden, this blonde wig, she screamed. She thought it was her head because they got hit really hard, like the whole back got smashed.
Oh
They
my
thought it was her
God.
head. They said it just flew in the front seat. They were like screaming. They were telling everybody in
That's
the
a
store.
sin. I shouldn't be laughing. God forgive me. I'm so sorry.
They were like, ah! It was like some kind of a horror movie. She's like, oh my God, her head got cut off. Like they were screaming this. And they're in the office hysterical laughing after the fact. That was funny. But at the time, she said, I think my blood pressure, I almost had a heart attack. She was so scared, didn't even look in the back seat. Do you have any other interesting stories to end this with that you can think about?
Well, gee, since I have no life, most of it's real estate.
I know.
That's
It
the
becomes your life,
funny
yeah,
story,
it
right?
becomes your life, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I think, maybe not so much funny, but I think I have been so fortunate to be in this business for as long as I've been in there.
Yeah.
I get really emotional when I see people that I haven't seen in a while.
I know.
I get really emotional when we lose a few of the good ones, like Richard.
Yeah.
Richard was
That
a dear
was a
friend of
tough
mine,
one.
him and Faye. And,
Yeah.
and I guess I forget how much time goes past.
How fast.
Until a couple things happen. Either my clients send their kids
I know,
kids
yeah, I
to me,
know.
and then I realize I really am old.
Yeah, I know.
In fact, one of my clients, he said, hey, listen, Katie's going to buy a house with her boyfriend. I'm sending her in. I said, okay. Well, I'm thinking, when's the last time I saw Katie? Katie must have been an infant. So Katie walks in the door, this beautiful, young, tall girl, beautiful, blonde hair. And I look at her, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, you got so big. Typical old lady thing, like, oh, my God, you got so big. And she looks at me, I go, please tell me I didn't say that out loud. She goes, yeah, you did. I said, I'm so sorry. That's when it's like I get a time check, when I realize how much time has
Yeah,
actually
it's
gone. Because
scary.
I don't feel any different.
I know. You
I feel the same.
Yeah, you
but
do.
But when I see people that we've known for a long time, and I see,
they look old.
yeah, don't you? You know what? Talk about a funny story. So I graduated high school in 1975, and it was in a military base in Michigan.
Uh-huh.
So I still am friendly with one of the girls. I used to date a guy there, and his younger sister. She used to like to hang out with me.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of keeps me posted of what's going on. And she says to me, "Are you going to come to the reunion?" And I said, "No." At the time, my husband was very sick. I said, "I can't do that."
Yeah.
So she sends me pictures, and I'm thinking, "Who are all
Who are
these
these old
old people?" Right? White hair, Birkenstocks, plaid. And I said to my daughter comes over. She was working with me at the time. She goes, "Mom, who are those old people?" I said, "That's the class of '75." Because I went, like I actually caught my. I said, "Please tell me I don't look like that." She goes, "Oh, Mom," she says, "you don't look like any of those people." I said, "Well, thank God, because I was having a heart attack."
I know. It's really scary.
Oh my God, it was. But I do have to say, like, I missed Homecoming Queen by one vote.
Oh.
But the Homecoming Queen was there, and time has not been nice to her.
Aw.
So it was a little redeeming. No,
Yeah.
I'm being
You still look
sarcastic.
beautiful. You still look exactly
Well,
the same.
that's
as you did
because
when
I
met you.
only keep those mirrors in my house.
That's
you know?
right.
Yeah, the negative mirrors we don't talk to. Like I do have
Absolutely.
one. I have one negative mirror in my room. Like my mirror over my dresser is very kind and says, "You look good."
Yeah.
I turn around, the other one goes, "We
Right,
found
right,
you." It's always been my pleasure and my privilege
Yep.
to help everyone and to work with proven professionals like you, who just was featured in this lovely magazine
Oh,
and
okay.
has a full-page article here, folks. So if you get a chance, pick it up and look at it. But it's a great article with a really
Oh,
great
thank
agent,
you.
and I have to tell you how proud of being with Remax all these years,
Yes,
and,
yeah.
and also being a manager for our company, how very proud I am of you and what you've
Thank
done.
you.
It makes, it validates everything that I've gone through all these years and the
Yeah.
mentorships and the things that I've done. So
I
really proud of
appreciate
you,
that.
Pat,
Thank
really.
you. It's
So,
been- we know what we've been through.
yes, well, I always tell people, you see all these lines on my face, they're
Yeah.
either clients or properties.
Right, or
So I've earned, I've earned
kids.
every single one of them.
Yeah.
But thank you for inviting me here
Oh,
today.
you're welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
I come
We'll have
back?
to do this again. Definitely. I was just going to say, you got to come back again for
I'll,
sure.
I'll bring coffee or wine.
Ooh, what's even better?
We'll do wine.